Okay, so there's a lot of firsts here today. First time I've talked really with my face, like vlogged this year. First time I've used two cameras. I got this other camera looking down on the keyboard. It took me ages to wangle, you know. I mean, it should be obvious if you're into video production, but when you're on a nothing budget, getting like tripods, and I was lucky enough, someone gifted me this tripod to make a video for a documentary which is just about me talking about the past, and I bought this kind of arm thing. I guess I'll try and swivel it. You can see it attached to this shelf here with this little camera running. That was another gift someone gave me in the past, and so is this camera. Was his gift, sort of. I mean, gift that I worked my ass off for. So I know. But all these cameras are old. I've had them since I ever went traveling. So as you can hear, I'm playing music. Not everything is handmade. I have been making keyboards or fixing old ones, but because I'm demoing something sort of semi-serious, it's a Hammond style organ kind of simulator, let's say, synthesizer. And I've explained it in some other videos that are just the unlisted, where I was getting feedback from someone who might want to use this. And I'm giving it to a Patreon subscriber, or a new one, hopefully. I said, like, when I work for doing IT, sometimes I get a decent wage, but when I'm in this new territory of art and science, mixing together all my different passions, from being a musician in the past to being going to uni and learning software development, and when I was doing that stream of software engineering, they had a few electronics engineering things, but they were like a nice introduction, and they didn't really teach me a whole lot, but they did kind of give me the gumption, the courage to, in the future, know that something about it, or at least I can read. I have some ability to learn and read schematics and documents, data sheets. Like a lot of chips they're just this black little thing with metal legs that you can stick in a circuit board and connect wires to, and but you need to understand the data sheet. Says like, this one connects to voltage, and this one goes to ground, and this one goes to something that sends pulses of short lengths and 5 volts, or this one will blow up if you put more than 3.3 volts and things like that. And soldering itself was a huge learning thing. Like, I've been soldering trying to fix things like my guitar, for example, when I had an electric guitar and I was a kid, and it would stop working, and I would open it up and figure out, oh, this is a volume knob, and it has like some wire coming from the plug, and it seems to be, you know, so I'd resolder it, and I have this penchant for always soldering stuff backwards, so that the volume knob worked backwards after I fixed it, you know. But soldering tinier and tinier and tinier things that are close together. It's like almost, people use microscopes to do this, but sometimes I use like thick glasses for people who can't see, that give me a really magnification. So this keyboard, which hasn't really got a name yet, it's like called ML Organ Demo or something on the back, but I wanted to give it a code name. I was thinking of just calling it Inorganic for just catchiness. it's not. Because it's an organ sound, you know. And I'm not going to demo all the features of it, other than to say that it's designed for someone who doesn't necessarily have a handle on programming their keyboard to send various codes to make knobs match. This is in chord mode. So it's basically, you plug in MIDI, like this MIDI plug port that you get on the back of. Can I do it without? Can I get into camera without something going wrong? Probably not. Oh, I can on the other camera. Anyway, so there's MIDI out, and then I've created on this other keyboard I have like a USB for MIDI, and this also does USB MIDI, but for someone who uses an older style keyboard, which I checked with the person I was making this for, I created a MIDI in, which I guess I should write MIDI in on here. I'm even going to send them a cord with it, because these days if you go to shops and, hey, can I buy a MIDI cord? You know, they'll give you a USB cord. So that should work on any channel of the 16 MIDI channels that you get. And then they can change the sound, like on a Hammond. I'll turn everything down, okay? So this is, the reason why there's sound now is because the first two drawbars are not mapped to the knobs on this top of this box. They're like the 1 octave down and the 5th harmonic, which is a normal kind of part. And in the future there'll definitely be knobs or controls to manage that. But for now I'm going to assume that you want it to have sound the second you turn it on. And so if everything's turned to 0, and I tested this yesterday, you would have no sound when you turned it on. So it automatically defaults to those first two being turned up. So that's the sound from them. And then this, if I turn the first one up, that's the actual note, the real pipe, that's the 1-to-1 note, middle C or whatever note you're playing at the time, but reference to middle C. And then as you turn up other ones, you get like different harmonics based on different. A pipe organ in the past had harmonic series, so you can hear those harmonics creating the more you turn up all of the harmonics, the more it sounds like a big pipe organ. Horror music style. So, fun fact, I had after I started making this based on some libraries that another programmer that I kind of know online shared with me. I mean, he writes code and he gives it, but it's really hard to make it work. You have to really wire things up yourself, test it out, and unless you can make a MIDI interface, then you've got no hope. You're not of even playing anything. So it took me quite a long time to make the first one, and I made that with USB. But then it took me far too long compared to how easy it was to make the serial MIDI, which is how this is running right now. So I've turned it back down, except for the first knob. So basically, to cut the long story short, if you want it to sound like a Hammond B3, which is the most popular Hammond, there's two things that you need. Probably the first 4 drawbars, and then you turn maybe the next 2 up as well. So there's 2 already by default turned on, and then the unison and the next harmonic, which I think is a 3rd. I have to be sure about that. I was reading some documentation. The 4th drawbar is I don't know if it says it's an octave, so it's it's an octave. It's an 8th. The next drawbar, it's a 12th. So a 12th from here would be like this. So no, that sounds like it's an octave too. They have all these octaves that they have names like quint for the 5th, and principal is this one is the principal, I believe. Yep. Yep. So this is another octave. This one is a 5th. This one is a... yeah, that's right. A 12th is a 5th. Okay. And then there's the 17th is the next one, so maybe come down here. Anyway, you can when you start playing with it, but the jazz sound is usually just the first 4 drawbars. So it's like the sound of something like, where is it? Jimmy Smith, arguably the person that popularized it for jazz and blues. So here's Jimmy playing in the background. And he would be using a B3, I imagine. I'm just feeling my way by ear because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a competent keyboard player. But I'm getting better at sort of faking my way around. See, that was total garbage, but anyway. I'll skip forward to past the guitarist to the keyboard. So I'm just basically, why I'm playing that, if you can hear it through the mic, is I'm trying to get you to compare the sound of my sound is masterful. So another thing that's new since the last video that I made, for the person who's seen that, is that now there's this percussion effect that Hammond B3s mostly had, and it was new to that B3, and B3, as I said, it was their most popular thing. So that's this. You can kind of hear this like meow meow. See, meow meow. Whereas if you're holding, I can make it always play, but in a real Hammond, if you're holding a note already, it's already triggered the percussion. So now you can hear the difference. There's no percussive thing on top of these notes while I'm holding this. Older Hammonds would have been like that. But when you play the chord fresh, so it's more for soloing, you know. But if you're playing like on one keyboard and playing bass, like at this, then sometimes these percussive effects won't trigger because you're holding a note while you play the other one. But anyway, that's why they have Hammonds have two keyboards, because you can play the bass on one and then the solo on the one that has percussion, and only one of the sections of a Hammond had that percussive effect. But anyway, now I'm pretty sure it sounds the same. You can hear this kind of little bit of a pianoistic quick sound at the start of the note, as opposed to the like organ sound. See? There's the piano mixed with the organ. Not piano, but, you know, short term, like a hammer hitting something. No percussion. So, I think, and then the second thing that makes, which I've already shown before, but that makes a Hammond like what the professionals used a lot, it's not something that is part of a Hammond. It's a separate product, not made by the Hammond company in the past, but currently they seem to be making them because everyone expects to have it, which is a Leslie sort of speaker with this rotating thing that makes it wavering sound, like a vibrato-y sound. So I've made the controls, I've made the computer out of, you know, parts, a lot of the parts are already like a computer. They just need to be integrated, like with the DAC. The DAC is a digital to audio converter, DAC. And it takes like a couple of wires and converts the samples that you create to make the wave pattern and the shape that makes it have its tone, you know. So there's the, if you slow the Leslie down, it gives you kind of a and also something I can't test because I don't have it. I'm sort of rounding out this before I send this demo version away. Is a lot of these keyboards, they'll have like a plug somewhere on them. Sustain, but also could be a volume. There might be a MIDI in, and you can get MIDI volume pedals. So pretty sure that is written into the part of the code that I copied already for the MIDI controls. But like on this, that Leslie sound, if it's turned off, you can use the mod wheel, but you can't do pitch bending. This doesn't have that mapped in. So bad. So for Vamping Chords, I think the percussion, I'm just going to leave it turned on as an effect. I don't want to keep working on this and delaying having it tested by my friend and hearing what they feel about it. I'm not charging them for it, but it is for Patreon subscribers only. So if you see this and you're not a Patreon subscriber and you want something like this, I am willing to give them away in exchange for the support. Just like I'm willing to do anything, support you with IT services. Like I have some friends that I help safely download BitTorrent. That's something that I do because I've always used BitTorrents to get various media, often legal, but sometimes like TV series that aren't strictly legal, even though I have them on Netflix that my family are paying for them to have Netflix, and we can watch them. It's in their language, and it's easier for me to consume on computer. So I figured out how to do that. I have clients that I help with IT support, like malware removal and preventing malware security. Right, I sell firewalls to people, which is more like a little computer server with a network in and network out, and filtering, very, very advanced filtering. Also open source, like this thing. This is open source. This is free software which I can change, improve upon, do whatever I want, make whatever physical thing control. What elements are in this box? Well, it has an on-off switch to control the power that it takes. Like any kind of voltage above 6 volts should work. Has a little regulator. It can run on USB. There is a USB in for it, but right now it's just for the sake of documenting. When I was running from the power of the little computer to spread like 0 to 3 volts across these potentiometers to measure what voltage they are, when that's how you know that they're turned up or down. Sometimes when they were turned up and current was flowing through them, it was kind of impacting my ability to program the thing, so I felt like it was probably having a negative effect. So I created a separate regulator from the outside power supply to power these, and disconnected it from the computer, so now if you run on USB, these are not connected, they're not going to work. But you'll still be able to play the thing, you just won't be able to control the... Here's another kind of sound. So one thing I saw that Hammond plays, they like to have these cool drawbar things that were a part of the original design, and they can quickly be like pulling them and changing them all over the place while they're playing, tweaking. I've tried to make this as fast tweakable as you want, like you'll get to know which ones, so you can be like, I want to turn it off again. I think you'll be able to get quite fast at operating it. It has 2 jacks that are both working now. It's like soldering issue with one that I fixed today. So you can plug into this one or into this one. And why are there 2? Well, one's 1/4 inch, this bigger kind of one, because some headphones use that. These are not really headphone jacks. You can plug headphones and listen, but it's not very loud. It's more like a designed for going into a mixing desk or a guitar amp, keyboard amplifier. Guitar amp would be interesting. You could turn a little bit of saturation on it and make it, rock sounds. I could build a preamp into a future model, so that's interesting for me to know if someone wants that. I have designed and made a very nice sounding headphone amp, but that's a lot of work. It's in itself. But my dream version of this would be like that I have sort of headphone preamp that makes it sound fat, so you can, when you want to rock out on headphones while people are sleeping, all they hear is the sound of the tapping of the keys, and you hear a really big soundscape. So yeah, that's a future idea.